Today we're making fish tacos. Taco night in the Mendoza household always consists of fresh tortillas. They're totally worth the effort and one of those things that's significantly improved by making them fresh at home rather than buying them from the store. So if you have the means and the little bit of extra time, make your tortillas from scratch. You can make fish tacos, or any tacos for that matter, with flour tortillas or corn. Today I'm gonna make them with corn. Let's go. We've made flour tortillas on this channel before, but not corn yet. Corn tortillas, in my opinion, are even easier than flour to make. It's mostly about the texture of the dough to get the right moisture so your tortillas don't break apart once you fry them. When mixing the dough, I start with 1.5 cups of masa and 1 cup of water, mixing until the masa is hydrated. Usually after the first mix, I need to add a little more water and keep mixing up around maybe another 1/4 cup of water. I wish I could give you an exact measurement, but in all honesty, it's not the same every time. It's 100% all about how the dough feels and getting it to the right texture to get perfect tortillas. What I'm looking for when mixing is a soft Play-Doh-like texture that gives easily when I press into it and holds the shape of my fingers without crumbling and cracking once it's pushed together. Once we get the texture correct, I like to pre-form each tortilla ball so that when I'm pressing them in the tortilla press later and frying, they're already prepped. You can skip this step and go straight to frying if you want to. I roll them into small balls that fit easily in the palm of my hand. The nice part about making tortillas at home yourself is that you can make them whatever size you want. To press the tortillas flat, I use a tortilla press. This is a fairly specific tool to have in your home kitchen, so if you don't have one, you can also use the bottom of a frying pan or the bottom of a pie plate, or even a regular plate if you have ones that are completely flat on the bottom. The goal here is just to use something to press the tortilla thin and flat evenly in all directions to keep it in a round shape, which is also why rolling them into balls beforehand helps a lot. Using a plastic bag or parchment paper to keep the dough from sticking once pressed is very useful and allows you to pick up the dough and peel it off, sort of like peeling off a sticker. You could also pre-press your tortillas before frying by placing parchment paper in between each pressed tortilla to keep them from sticking together. But I prefer to press mine as I go along. It's up to you. Now to the frying. I'll be using a cast iron skillet, but you can use any skillet you have on hand. You don't need anything in the pan, no butter, oil, anything like that, just the pan. The first time you make these, it'll seem like they're going to stick to the pan, but I promise they won't. As they cook up, they'll release from the pan and move around easily. Cook on high heat for 30 seconds each side or until lightly browned and puffed, and then keep them warm in a towel until you're ready to serve. You can't have taco night without some fresh guacamole. I wouldn't call this traditional guacamole, and there are thousands of different recipes for guacamoles and salsas for that matter too. This is actually a dish I'd recommend not using a recipe for and make it to your taste. Or use a recipe for inspiration on which ingredients to include, but fiddle with the amount of each ingredient you add to customize it. For example, most recipes for guacamole include raw tomato and onion, which my husband doesn't like, so I leave them out. Most recipes only tell you to add 1 jalapeno, but I like it with more spice, so I end up using 2 or 3. I also like it pretty high in citrus, so I usually add more lime juice than a recipe calls for. The main point here is to make it to your taste, not someone else's. Mix up the ingredients, taste it, and then see if you'd like to add anything. The one caution I'd pass along to remember is that once you put something in, most of the time you can't take it back out. So add in small increments and mix thoroughly before tasting again and then readjusting. For my guacamole this time, I included avocados, cilantro, lime juice, jalapeno, and salt. Easy peasy. Since these are fish tacos, we'll need to prep some fish taco type toppings. For that, I finely chopped some green cabbage and radish. You can add whatever you like to top your taco with, of course, but radish for me is the unsung MVP. Now it's time to cook the fish. Seafood is a more recently acquired taste for me, so learning to cook it has been a great new adventure. For these tacos, I used tilapia, which is easy to keep in the freezer and have on hand, thaws quickly, and cooks up fast and easy. What more do you want? There's two challenges when cooking this up, however. One is knowing when it's ready to flip. You want to look for a whitening coming up the sides of the cut of fish from the bottom. It's a very subtle color change, which is why it's challenging to watch for, but happens around 3 to 4 minutes after hitting the pan. However, if you flip it over and it's not done to your liking, simply flip it back and cook longer. The second thing is sticking to the pan. Fish and eggs are two things notorious for sticking to the pan. For this reason, I always cook mine in a cast iron and would recommend the same to you or anyone. Unless you have a really good miracle working non-stick pan, go with cast iron. I use my cast iron not because the seasoning is so good that the fish won't stick to it, but because I know it can take the abuse of me scraping it off afterwards with steel wool, salt, or a metal utensil. If I used a non-stick pan and had to scrape it off afterwards, it would permanently ruin the non-stick on the pan and be a pain in the butt. The cast iron can take the beating and work just fine afterwards. I do also add vegetable oil or coconut oil to the pan before cooking the fish, which helps it cook and prevent some of the sticking. With everything ready, I set up everything on a sheet tray so that we can assemble the tacos. My mic died shortly after my little dance party here, so I'll just say, if you like this video or you learned something, give it a like. If you'd like to learn more, subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!